Hello, everyone, and welcome to stage number 2 of the PEL Contenders Promotional Tournament. My name is Esquire. I'm going to be your commentator over the course of the next 4 days, where these 16 teams will be duking it out head-to-head over 16 matches to try to find their way into the top 9 positions on the leaderboards. Those top 9 will then move on to the PELC, the PEL Contenders Phase 1 of 2020. But let's break it down, guys. It's been in a pretty exciting tournament so far. Stage 1 held a lot of pretty high-octane PUBG. So we're going to be looking to see that and more as we progress through stage number 2. Our 8 teams who were able to make it out of stage number 1. It was very close. 2 teams, 9th and 10th place position, about maybe 2 or 3 points off from finding that qualification. So definitely a sweaty ending to stage number 1. But yes, the 8 teams coming out of stage 1 to compete here in stage number 2 are going to be the Istanbul Wildcats, CrazyCrew, Level, Stellar, Tony Team, Boris, Intruders, and Mylta Power. And guys, if you have any of those emotes or want to throw that team support, please feel free to do so in chat. It means a lot to these squads. But let's break into the other squads that make up this Stage 2 tournament. It's going to be 2 of the teams coming out of the PEL Contenders Phase 3, as well as 6 teams coming out of the PEL Opens. Those squads are going to be Royalty, HaKoHe, Fight Club, ADR Farmers, Hakkapeliittas, Preachers, Dose Pilots, Brute Force. So those make up your 16 teams. You can see them and their logos here on the leaderboard, so be sure to check those out and mark down which teams you're going to be looking after as we break into the first few sets of games of the stage. A brief breakdown of how your points are going to be situated here. If you've been watching PEL throughout the entirety of 2019, you know it, you love it. A massive 10 points coming out for that chicken dinner. And then here's your schedule. 4 games to be played out today. Fairly standard schedule, guys, as well. If you watch the PEL, PELC, pretty standard as far as match timings will be taking place. But I want to welcome you guys on in here as we do break into the skies of game number 1. It's going to be exciting to see how these teams shape up, how the lobby is going to progress here. Certainly the early stages of these tournaments where teams don't necessarily have a direct read on each other, where you might have a few positional clashes based off of drop locations. A lot is in store for us here. But into Sanhok we go. The Jungles, the newest addition to the PEL competitive map pool lineup. Lane path going to be heavily favored down towards the south. It starts off on the western shores of Sanhok and heads on over to the east, a little bit south of Kampong. Although this plane path will be favored down towards the south, it's not going to be cutting off too drastically any of those locations along the northern coast where a few teams might find a little bit of safety in going towards here in this early game. Let it get scouted out and then see how the day progresses. All teams having been kicked out of the cargo hold now will be left to their own devices. And sure enough, we do have that clash inside of boot camp. It's going to be the Istanbul Wildcats versus, I believe, HaKoHe. A very early engagement here between these two squads. A fight for position, a dominance stand between these two squads to try to take over one of the more powerful positions on Sanhok. I believe, at least in my personal opinion and the opinion held by many before we even saw phase number 1 pop, I believe Level held the other dominant position here on Sanhok. Really, these two positions, Boot Camp and Painan, are so extremely important based off of their centrality, based off of the opportunity it gives the respective squads that drop there to make those early rotations and play position before getting into the chaos, which is the rumble in the jungle here on Sanhok. Battle still continues on here inside of boot camp with the members of HaKoHe trying to spread out now. 1 man down along the perimeter of the actual boot camp enclosure. Istanbul Wildcats continue to keep their eyes peeled, though, spotting out the members of HaKoHe. I think Istanbul Wildcats are beginning to get a good lockdown onto what the members of HaKoHe are doing, spreading out now, very isolated, and unable to provide that necessary support to one another. A big headshot going to be coming out from Apocalypse onto one of the members of HaKoHe. Took a little bit of return damage, but it's not going to be too significant. VSS comes out huge for Ginzo. He's able to find 1 shot, and it drops down the member of HaKoHe to about 1% HP. 1 more tap will do it. But the first aid does get deployed, and Lazy will continue on his way to try to disengage off of this entirely. The VSS, an extremely deadly weapon, though, here in the early stages of the game, and Genzo is not going to be too hard-pressed to be able to find that knockdown. There it is. Lazy goes down. Our second knock of the game as the members of HaKoHe face off against possibly only having 2 players alive throughout a majority of the first game of the stage. Another engagement going to be popping off over here as the members of, I believe, Stellar are going to be facing off against some early casualties. The Preachers coming in huge just on the southern border of Kampong, able to capitalize on that. Legendary, and you name it. Able to pick up a nice double kill and a little bit of a loot infusion. As we pop down to Pine On, take a look at one of those priority positions I was previously talking about. Moonlight, Phlasm, the rest of the squad going to be very happy with what they are finding here, especially after we did see phase number 1 pop, and heavily favor this Pine On area of the map as the centralized position of Circle 1. Tony Team, one of your favorites coming out of stage number 1 of the PELC promos, going to be departing off of that primary loot location to Paradise Resort and making that rotation down to the south. Not going to be facing off against too many obstacles on the way. They are likely facing off against a very long rotation should we see anything larger than a nudge down to the southwest in phase number 2. Dos Pilots going to be rolling up just on the flank of Fight Club. You can see them positioned a little bit north down the roadside. Certainly going to be spotted out or heard if they do pop into this Roni, this truck. That is a few meters off of where Dos Pilots currently sit. ZorF and the rest of the crew, though, going to be looking that way, possibly even having spotted the members of Dos Pilots before we flipped off of them. But we will be taking a look over at the Intruders, another squad that found some significant performances in stage number 1 are going to be trying to make a huge impact here as they progress through stage number 2. Again, the path to Pro League for these teams is certainly not an easy one. It's a rigorous one. It is a marathon and then some. It's going to take a lot of mental fortitude, a lot of serious, tight-knit strategical play from these squads to be able to come up with the points necessary to be able to progress into the PELC. And then from there, it doesn't stop. No, the trek continues on as they try to advance into the PEL. The earliest that these teams will see themselves having that opportunity to get into the PEL, should they even make it into the PELC, is going to be the second phase of 2020. But it's an exciting prospect for some of these teams that have been putting in a significant amount of work over the last 2 years. ADR Farmers, Anonymous, going to be creeping around the hillside, has to work a little bit down towards the southwest to get inside of phase number 1. However, they have felt the presence of the members of the CrazyCrew just on the opposite side of the hill. STaravillo and his teammates Pluto as well going to be pushing over the hillside and not really trying to take this fight. I don't think CrazyCrew is fully alert of the positioning of the ADR Farmers. This is really ADR trying to open up something and let the other team rotate in and see if they can't find a little bit of an easier way inside of this first phase. Taking a peek on end to the members of Stellar, who did lose that one teammate early on. Mole Man and the rest of the crew, though, won't be too hampered by this. A 3-man squad is still going to be able to put out a significant amount of impact in terms of the performance in this game, especially on Sanhok. It really comes down to being able to find a position, be it centralized where they can bunker down, or be it edge play where they can kind of pick off these teams and play that third-party presence and bounce around as necessary. Phase number 1, though, about to close out. The phase 2 shift on Sanhok isn't one of the more drastic shifts that we see over on Erangel and Miramar. It's going to be a little bit less so than that, as it does shift, though, up towards the northeast. Pinon, where Level has been holding on to for the majority of this game, almost the entirety of these 7, almost 8 minutes now. are still going to be sitting in a priority position. The members of Fight Club, they push down to the crossroads and will also be sitting in a nice compound for them to hold on to. Fights breaking out. The ADR farmers have spotted out the members of CrazyCrew in that very vulnerable position. This is the other thing that they were possibly waiting for. The members of CrazyCrew to cross the road, become a little bit too comfortable in their position, and try to continue on. They do lose a member. They pick up his loot and continue to try to get down to the southwest inside of the safe zone. Shots come out. Level Esports going to be losing a member early on here on the far northeastern side of Painan. Thankfully, though, they do have Iffy going to be pushing over very fast to try to get a res onto his teammate, but certainly not what we expected to see happening to the members of Level at this stage in the game. Hakkapeliittas going to be positioning 2-2 on the west and eastern sides of the bridge as they hold on. Moleman getting a little bit active here, going to be disabling vehicles and any opportunity he can find. I believe that's the preachers off there in the distance. Boris moving off of Camp Charlie just on the northwestern side. Now they've got some time to work with. 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock as the blue zone begins to close out. Now we're looking at Preachers. Legendary, you name it, holding in a structure on the far southeastern edge of the circle. This isn't going to be the most ideal position for them to hold on to. Edge play on Sanhok could be very devastating for your squad if you don't have all four up and kind of playing as a ball, as a unit that could take these engagements. It's a much more aggressive stance than these centralized areas of the map. Checking back over to the members of Boris. They've spotted out another squad. Big shot's going to be coming in here as Brute Force is taking casualties. AmerouuS going to be knocked down as the first member in this engagement to fall to their knees. Going to be aggressively pushing off of this. Mackenzie, HalloSenpai trying to recover off of this. A big impactful res will be coming out immediately onto AmerouuS. Pick back 4 sets of boots on their feet for the members of Brute Force to continue on here and try to put up a bit of a defense, possibly even disengage. They're not inside of phase number 2. The blue zone slowly creeps its way up from the south. But this engagement is all but inevitable, I believe, at this stage. You can see the members of Brute Force kind of in a 2-2 split. Not really one that's strategically imposed. It's going to be one by necessity. A quick flick back for HalloSenpai is going to be finding the connections on the Sando. So the trade back comes in. It's going to be a 1-for-0 essentially in favor of Brute Force, the team that really took the casualties at the beginning stages of this fight. Mkaelovich going to be dropped down as well. HalloSenpai comes up huge with another knock and a flush. Boris now heavily on their back foot as they try to recover off of this. They try to find a different way to rotate inside of the circle. Again, these 2 rotation paths were very conflicting, and they will only continue to be so as another hardship does come in here up towards the far northeast is where this circle is going to be trending. It favors a few squads. Level is going to have to depart out of Painan. They sit just to the north of where the members of this Brute Force squad and Boris had previously been engaged. Fight Club, they continue to hold strong. This is a very similar strategy to what we saw out of the members of FaZe Clan after that initial Painan loot location. Boris continued to unfortunately get knocked down. Only going to have 1 member alive here. perfectgod trying to disengage and salvage the game here for his team. Not wanting to go out in 16th place is essentially the name of the game here for Boris. As we continue on, the flush comes out. Extends will be another kill point in the pocket for Brute Force. Hakkapeliittas trying to recover here on the hillside, the far western hillside of where Phase 3 currently sits. However, up the hillside do come the members of Intruders, and with that as well, Beamy from Stellar going to be finding the final kill on the perfectgod. Out goes Boris in 16th place position. Huge nade going to be coming in here. They tried to get the res. Hakkapeliittas was almost there, but a matter of seconds was all it took for the Intruders to come up with a massive nade. A double knock is what is going to be received by Hakkapeliittas. And now 2 points. Mark that. Almost 3 now. Another knock comes in. And they're going to be happy what they see here. Third party, though. It's going to be, I believe, HaKoHe that comes in with some shots just down the opposite side of the hillside inside of the compound. They saw the opportunity to pick up a little cheeky kill steal, and we'll be doing just that. Hakkapeliittas, out they go with a few shots coming in from Apocalypse of the Istanbul Wildcats. The QBU rings true, and out goes the members of Hakkapeliittas. Phase number 3 continues on, though, regardless of what is happening around the map. That's the one thing that doesn't stop here. In PUBG, 13 minutes into the game, and Stellar is still trying to work their way inside of the circle. Left now with just Moleman and Beamy that try to continue on. Last time we checked in with the Stellar squad, they had 3 up. We talked about how their chances weren't severely hampered with just being one man down. However, now that we enter into the 2 players down category, things drastically change for this squad. It becomes a different story, but Beamy and Moleman not going to be giving up right now. 2 veterans of the competitive PUBG scene are going to be playing this very aggressively, knowing full well what is on the line here. With 4 kills already picked up, risking going out with 0 placement points, it's not a terrible way to at least start the game and feel confident with playing a little bit more aggressively than you would. But the next shift comes in. It's going to be going down to the southeast. We've had pretty polarizing shifts so far in this game, not really allowing these teams much comfortability as we continue forward. Makes for a great PUBG viewing experience as a clash happens on the far western side of the previous circle. It's going to be level, taking massive casualties as they clash with Intruders. Trades back and forth between both of these squads, as I believe we're left with possibly a 1v1 scenario. And there it is. The Intruders will be found out. The third party comes in huge for the members of HaKoHe. And out go the Intruders in 13th place position. Level able to recover off of this, at least somewhat. A little bit deteriorated in terms of their numbers, but left with 2 alive now as they continue forward. The real first clash, the real first test that this level squad has had to go up against here in stage number 2 after they've departed out of Pine On. 12 teams remaining as we approach the essentially halfway point of the game. 15 minutes have been played out here, and Royalty going to be sitting very comfortably at the southern side of the circle. They've been able to avoid losing any other members. They haven't really engaged in any types of fights, but that is certainly going to be on the horizon. Literally, as Milta Power start to crest over the hillside, shots come out, and Jesse for Royalty is able to get the quick snap onto Ewan. Down goes 1. The flush comes in. Kill point in the pocket for the members of Royalty. Trade back as Milta Power is able to find 1, checking in with the members of the ADR farmers who start to creep in off of the eastern edge of the circle. Kill feed really starting to light up. This is the rumble in the jungle, that moment, that boiling point here on Sanhok, where the action, even if you try to avoid it, you're really going to be forced into it. And when you're forced into it, you don't have a good opportunity to avoid that third-party presence. Better to take these engagements on your own terms, then get engaged upon. Pushing up the hillside, it's going to be Milta Power, unfortunately, right into the members of Brute Force. And with a few shots, a few spray downs, out go Milta Power in 12th place position. But now Brute Force, they've got to work their way off of this hillside. That previous spray down gave away a lot in terms of their position, and now a wide open hillside with just a few bits of trees to hide behind, and not even big trees. I mean, you try to avoid one angle immediately down the hillside, you're opening yourself up to not just Stellar across the way, but also a few other squads. And as this engagement rages on, Level is going to be eliminated in 11th place position. 10 teams remain. Brute Force is doing just that, brute forcing their way into this compound where Royalty had previously sat 4 alive and is quickly being whittled through. Possibly, yep, a 1v1 scenario between Brute Force and Royalty, and they're able to find it. They come up on top, pick up their 7th kill of the game here, and HaKoHe continues on as the solo champion for this Brute Force squad. A hell of a take right there for Brute Force, as they really didn't have many options other than essentially just try to get down the hillside, try to stay alive, and they get the spray down onto Royalty members as they proceeded. Tony team trying to recover off of a little bit of difficulty here as we now enter into phase number 5. 20 seconds on the board into the blue zone. We'll shrink in on this location of the map. HaKoHe not able to survive past 9th place position, but will be going out with a few kills to their name. 3 squads currently sit with 4 players alive. It's going to be the Istanbul Wildcats, ADR Farmers, and Fight Club. These are squads that at least have positioned themselves throughout the first 17.5 minutes of the game to try to take away the chicken dinner. But we all know that a lot can change here, especially as we are now into the thick of things. The mid to late game transition is in full effect. Istanbul Wildcats going to be pushing up here. Ginzo, who displayed that beautiful VSS kill to start the game, is trying to recover off of taking almost fatal damage. First aid does get deployed and will be able to counteract at least some of that HP deficit. But they will be almost forced into this engagement with the members of the CrazyCrew, who haven't spotted out Ginzo's current position. Spray down around the left-hand side of the rock. Will be trying to get these peaks once again. Out into the wide open. No cover for Ginzo to hide behind. Really left just to try to hit those shots, and it wasn't an easy task. CrazyCrew come up on top of this, and it's going to be a few shots, all that's necessary to take out the remainder of the Istanbul Wildcats. Made it into placement points, but are going to be knocked down and out. I believe that was a third party as well, possibly coming in from the Fight Club squad, and now going to be forced into that engagement with CrazyCrew. So this is the chaos that we have seen on Sanhok. Really not able to recover off of that. Have to always be on the move. You've got about a window of 3 to 5 seconds after your first shots to try to find a different spot of cover to disengage off of that fight. Teams now dropping like flies. Brute Force going to be going out in 5th place position. 4 teams remaining. And I believe Stellar has been able to make it into the top 4 with just Moleman and his teammate Beamy. Absolutely insane that they've been able to do this. But again, veteran players, they're not going to let the pressure mount on top of them and really not allow them to work off of this. They're playing it well. They've got the circle now on the southern side of things. And the north is where a lot of the action is going to be lying, as the members of the ADR farmers, Triquo coming in with a huge shot, M24 headshot connection onto ZorF of Fight Club. ZorF able to find his way inside of the smoke concealment, will be able to maintain at least a presence here on the map. But the other members of ADR farmers are coming in huge. They're wrapping around the northwestern part of the circle, and Myca is able to find an SKS headshot onto yet another member of Fight Club. This team is getting absolutely blasted through on the northwestern side of phase number 6. However, a defense is mounting here for the members of Fight Club. Circle putting out a nice few shots, able to find the tag down on the Flamyy with the M416. The first trade back coming out of this Fight Club team. ZorF able to find one. Triquo able to find another. Whoa, 2 down for the members of ADR. I believe 2 down for Fight Club as well. This battle has been kind of inconsistent and definitely back and forth, but another knock will almost be effectuated. Fight Club definitely pinned down right here, and Triquo is, yes, able to find it. Down goes Rizzle for Fight Club. Now trying to survive out of the blue zone is not going to be an easy task. The final shots do come in. Myca is able to find the squad elimination on the Fight Club. Out they go in 4th place position. 3 teams now remain. Stellar with 2 alive. ADR Farmers with 3 alive. And then Tony team, currently 2 alive. Moleman going to be trying to clear out the southern side compound where 2 of the members of Tony team are going to be holding out. At least one, Februarino, here on the southern side of phase number 7. His teammate going to be in a bit of an overwatch position on the north. This is definitely doable for Stellar to walk away with the chicken dinner here in this game, which would be absolutely insane. I don't think many people would have had their money on Stellar based off of just numbers alone, based off of the chaos that they had to work their way through to get to this stage in the game. I don't think anyone would have guessed. Which makes it all the better to see it play out right now. Beamy and Moleman continue on here, trying to check these windows, trying to check these lines of sight and clear out where they expect some of these teams to be maneuvering around. Phase 8, though, in full effect here. The blue zone shrink has started. 35 seconds on the clock. You're going to have to see a bit of a reposition coming out of the members of Tony team up here towards the northeast, as well as ADR, and the shot now starts to erupt off of the members of Tony team. Beamy says, it's no worry. I'm going to be able to spot you in this bit of an opportunity, in this bit of a distraction here for the members of Stellar. ADR Farmers capitalize on it, and they push across the wide open area that they had to get across to pretty much remain a massive threat in this game. And now they've made it to safety. They made it to cover. Tony team going to be obliterated by both of the remaining 2 teams, ADR Farmers and Stellar. And now the fight rages on. A 2v3 scenario. Definitely anyone's game here, but certainly favors the members of the ADR Farmers as we currently see it. Molotov almost finding a nasty connection onto Anonymous. Beamy, the recipient of a beautiful headshot coming in from the M24. of ADR farmers. We'll have to pull back and try to get some meds rolling. Massive Molotov, though. There it is. moynick able to find the connection onto Myca. Drops it down into a 2v2 scenario. Now going to be a 2v1 as Flamyy will be flushed out of the game by Triquo, the Overwatch player. Holding back on the tree side is going to be spotted. Nice tag down from the SLR of moynick. And this 1v2 scenario right now pops out of the window. Unfortunately going to be spotted. A huge effort coming out from StarLadder to try to take this game away, but it's going to be the ADR farmers that do just that. A 12 kill chicken dinner to start off game number 1 of stage 2 PELC promos. What a game indeed. Triquo, the rest of the squad all pulling their weight here in the first match to walk up with a nasty 22-point total out of just one game. It's certainly a dominant performance to put out, and it's one that strikes the fear into your opponents continuing forward. This game was all but crazy, and those replays will certainly show that, as we saw those early clashes between a few teams starting to encroach on each other's loot locations. That was definitely a beautiful nade as well, coming in from the members of the Intruders as they breached up the hillside onto that squad. Stellar, this is kind of showed a story of what happened to them. A lot of pressure applied to them by multiple different squads, but it didn't stop them from, again, as I said, making their way into that second place position. But I think, ADR farmers, they were kind of the silent killers here in this game. They definitely didn't skirt by just camping it out. 12 kills is a very aggressive game. A very capitalizing game for that squad. I think we'll get a better idea of how Sanhok will play tomorrow when we get to see a repeat of this map. A few teams will be able to adjust off of that strategy. So I wouldn't expect the chaos to be as substantial in the early stages for the rest of stage number 2. Then again, I could be wrong. It could be a power stance coming out from a few of these teams as rivalries within the lobby itself begin to develop, even just here in the first day. moynick with a massive Molotov. That's really what kickstarted this engagement between ADR farmers and StarLadder. Unfortunately, moynick, I don't think moynick really had the smoke concealment to block off, fully his body as he vaulted out of the window, but it was a massive effort, that's for sure. We'll take a look at our point totals. Coming out of game number 1, 2 teams are unfortunately not going to be able to pick up any points here in this match. Boris saw them going out to the members of Brute Force, thought they were going to be able to come up on top of that engagement. Unfortunately, we're not able to do so. Top 8 of the leaderboards here for game number 1, 22 points, of course, massive pickup for the ADR farmers. StarLadder not too far behind, with only 2 members alive through a majority of the game, come up with 14 points. Fight Club with 11, and then Brute Force with 10. It trickles down from there, but already starting to see at least a few standout squads from game number 1 here in stage 2. Triquo almost tied with Flamyy and moynick. I mean, look at that. It's no surprise to see Flamyy and moynick up there. A lot of contenders there for that top damage. And it should continue to be like that, I think, through the rest of the tournament. We've got some serious competitors here in this lobby. Your top kills from game number 1 going to be Triquo with 5. And then our head-to-head. We'll take a peek at how the ADR farmers really shape up against the members of StarLadder. It's, it's very close. The ADR, unfortunately for the ADR farmers, it went in favor of StarLadder in this match. Very close. But again, you have to consider that StarLadder really only had 2 members alive for a majority of that game. Your top players from both of these squads, Triquo and Flamyy, very even in terms of the impact they had in that game. So, of course, yes, your standings for the entirety of stage number 2 going to be very similar to what we saw based off of the fact that we've only played 1 game. Yes, 1 game in the books here as we continue on throughout the rest of the day. 3 more games for day number 1 of stage 2 PELC promos. Make sure to stay tuned, guys. We're going to be back very, very soon for match number 2. My name is Esquire. It's a pleasure to be here commentating for you guys.